Let's get into topic number one, and let's talk about Weapons. Now, Weapons is doing pretty well at the box office. I don't necessarily know. It might do a big again this weekend. It all depends. Tomorrow or tonight, basically, at 7 o'clock, because usually that's when the new movies come out now instead of just on a Friday. Um, oh my God, what's the name of that damn movie? Nobody 2. I almost forgot the name of it. Nobody 2, excuse me, is actually coming out. And I didn't even know it was coming out until the pundits that I watch on YouTube started mentioning. I'm like, damn, I totally forgot about the movie. But the movie is getting great reviews. I already got my ticket earlier today, so I'm going to go see it tomorrow. And then when I come back, I'll let y'all know how it was when I give y'all the Friday show. So yes, there will be a Friday show. At first it wasn't going to be, but I was able to finagle my way out of a situation. So now I can give y'all a Friday show. But nevertheless, so now um, with all of this being said, I was looking at the movie and I was like, how are we getting a sequel or a prequel or whatever? Like after the way the movie ended, I was like, the story was perfect the way it was. It ended the way I thought it ended perfectly. It was just a really good, slow building creepy movie. I know some people say, "Oh, it's not that scary" or whatever, and it's like apples and oranges. Horror movies are. It's not a monolith where it's like, what is your level of what you think scary is? Do you look at it as like, um, Hostel? Is it Terrifier? Like that's not a Friday the 13th, Halloween. Like that, there's different levels and different genres that make up the whole horror movie situation. But the thing about Weapons is that yes, it's a drama, it's a thriller, it has moments of creepy things that happen, but it's not necessarily your typical whatever, how do you ever you define horror. And I feel like horror is it's such a broad situation right now, it's hard to define what horror is. If it makes you feel unsettled and uneasy, to me, that's horror. So it could be in any kind of situation. I mean, there's been things comedies that I've considered um, or horrible, depending on how you look at it. But anyway, so there is a rumor that's going around, or some people are speculating, or even Zach Cregger might be even saying it, is that they may make one regarding Aunt Gladys. Now, I will say this: if you have not seen the movie, I may get a little spoilery in having this conversation. So I don't know if y'all want to stick around for or mute the or stick around because I like when y'all stick up in here, but just mute everybody on mute. In the words of Beyonce, until I'm done with this segment. So according to the Hollywood Reporter, they said that Warner Brothers and New Line, Home of Weapons, is already talking with Kreger about making a prequel exploring the origin story of the strange aunt who suddenly arrives in town. Now, one of Weapons conceits is its chapter structure centering on particular characters, and sources say that Kreger actually has a chapter focused on Gladys and some of her backstory. He ultimately pulled that section from the script for length purposes. Now, with the movie's wild success, the lost chapter could be expanded into a full-length story. Sources said no details have been made, nor is there any timeline. Now, that's partly because Kreger is already in prep on his next feature, which y'all already know is Resident Evil, which they are they're actually doing pre-production as we speak in Prague. And he's doing that for Columbia Pictures, to which he is to receive, and this is like, all right, look at him. He's scraping up the court. Now, this is well deserved, unlike James Gunn, which I don't understand how the hell he giving himself $15 million to direct Superman when, in fact, he is the co-CEO of the DCU. So it's like, I feel like you double dipping over there. But him, Zach Kreger, because of the success of, Barbarian and now the big success of Weapons, he deserves the $20 million that he's getting for this movie. And I'm sure that he'll put a bunch of unknowns in there. So that'll save some money on the film. But so it basically said that they said it's an astounding figure for a filmmaker working on only his third feature, not counting co-directing Little Scene 2011 feature The Civil War and Drugs, which he made far before becoming an A-list director, or 2009's Miss March for Searchlight. Evil is scheduled to open in theaters on September 18, 2026. So that's why they got to get cracking when making this movie. Now, the question on many lips is, where will Craig go next? If he was already a filmmaker on the rise thanks to out-of-nowhere success of his 2022 debut Barbarian, Weapons has given him carte blanche and a pen to write his own ticket with the help of his CAA and artist first reps, of course. There's also been a story that's been going around that he's already written a script for a version of the Joker and Harley Quinn. I don't know if that's going to come about, especially after that disaster that was Foley Adudu. But the word on the curb is that he did write a treatment or something for a Harley Quinn Joker movie. At this point, I'm tired of them two. Can we put them to rest for a while? I know that James Gunn recently came out and said that the Harley Quinn character and Margot Robbie will be used. I'll let you guys know when we start to use it. I said, okay, now if you don't have anything relatively of interest to say regarding the Margot Robbie thing, stop trying to jerk us off with a lot of these what about isms or maybe isms or probably isms. And it's like, if you have something in the works that you want us to know about, then maybe that's when you should release it. I just feel like you're trying to control the narrative and everything on social media, and you get mad when all these scoopers like the Daniel RPKs and the Jeff Snyders, who Jeff Snyder got smoke. I seen that him with Roka the other day on the mic drop. He got smoked for James Gunn. So he's like trying to be out here so quick to discredit and get ahead of these scoopers and then trying to just jerk us off with a lot of this other stuff. And it's like, unless you have something of interest to say regarding the whole Superman universe, whatever the case is, I don't care. So just make your movie, put it out there, do what you got to do, and we can keep it moving. But James Gunn been getting on my damn nerves, and I love Superman, but he been like, to me, it's like the mystery of me loving this man in a lot of movies he's doing, with him running his mouth all over social media, he's starting to irritate my spirit. But besides that, with this whole thing, I just feel like we don't need a Joker, Harley Quinn, anything right now, unless you plan on having them pop up in something. But at this point, they've been Joker he's been used to death. I'm ready for new characters in the whole universe of Batman. And he keeps saying, well, that's the one everybody knows. Well, introduce people to new characters. Like, there's characters that we could deep dive and that are of interest. You could put them in these films. We don't always have to go to the same usual suspects. It gets a little lame after a while. It's like you're going to the same thing over and over because you're thinking that you're going to get that quick cash grab or whatever the case is. But fans these days, all they care about is story, which is why I love the fact that Warner Brothers just said that in 2026, their main goal is they're going to focus on a lot of original content. Yeah, you'll get like the 2 DCU movies a year or whatever the case, but they said because of the success of a lot of the movies, like Warner Bros. Had a great year. A lot of the bigger films that'll come out this year, from Sinners even down to Weapons, and a bunch of other films that I can't think of off the top of my head, but those are the 2 I can think of what's in this whole Warner Brothers situation. Their movies have been relatively successful, and so clearly people want original IP. So that's why I laugh when people tell them there's nothing original. Everybody just making comic books, and I'm like, y'all have not been paying attention, or maybe you just being obtuse on purpose, because there have been plenty of movies, if you pay attention, that have been out here that have been relatively successful, that have been original IPs. It's just you're also busy focusing on superhero stuff that you're not looking at the bigger picture. So they also said that he's got other stuff in the works that is called Henchman, an original story that would be up for Warner Brothers. That's now its DC Studios division, must seriously consider. And then there's Flood, a sci-fi script that he's already written. Now, they also said that co-movie chief Michael DeLuca was the first exec in town to finish reading the Weapons script and made an offer that after credit and producer Roy Lee sent it out at 8 a.m. sharp 1 January in 2023. And how a lot of people were in a bidding war for it. And I heard that this was the movie that Jordan Peele was pissed that he wasn't able to get the rights to that movie. Because Warner and New Line won the battle. And Monkey Paw Productions, which is Jordan Peele's production, they were trying to get the project, and that was the one that got away, because this would be a big hit for Jordan Peele if he was able to get his hands on it. And so they said Mike DeLuca also tried to land the rights to Craig's Resident Evil, losing that one to Sony, and he's been eager to get him back into the studio fold ever since, because he's making money for Warner Brothers. So of course you want to get him back into the fold. And so Weapons has opened up to $43 million domestically, more than $10 million ahead of the expectations, because a lot of people expected it to be around $30 to $33 million. It actually brought in, like I said, $43 million. Globally has brought in $83 million as of Monday. And I'm sure it's probably made more, and I'm sure because of due to word of mouth, that there will be some people that will be up in here and be like, because everybody's talking about it, I'm gonna go to the movies and see it. So to get to the point of where I'm going with all of this, because I just want to point all that out. Like I said, I couldn't see the possibility of them conjuring up a prequel or a sequel. But then thinking about it, I was like, them exploring the idea of doing an Aunt Gladys movie and trying to figure out, okay, so she came into town. What was her motivation? Her motivation basically was that, spoiler alert, I'm letting y'all know, excuse me, Aunt Gladys is a witch. So she came to town basically acting like she needed the shelter and everything of the little boy's parents. Excuse me. Um, I almost forgot the kid's name. Alex. So Alex's parents, I guess, is like trying to put her up, take care of her for a couple of weeks or whatever the case is, because they're, Alex's mom is talking about that her mother died. So now the aunt is coming to live with them and all that other stuff. And and basically her coming there, her motivation was her trying to suck off and live off the energy of her niece and her husband. That wasn't getting her energized. Hence why all the little kids in the neighborhood started to disappear, because she was rejuvenating herself or re-energizing herself off of the youth of the kids. And there were people sitting over here saying, oh, well, I didn't know that this movie didn't make no sense. I'm like, you wasn't paying attention, because that's clearly what it was about. It was about this woman trying to maintain her youth and her strength and all this other stuff. She was sick. She was dying. So the only way that she could maintain some type of power, whatever the case was sucking off like living off the energy of them kids. And that's when Alex was scared, because, his aunt was threatening him. If you let anybody know what's going on in the neighborhood, then I could make your parents do harm to them. So hence why she did a little magic spell, whatever, and they would stab themselves in the face with the fork and all that other crazy stuff, which was like a little scene. But so they can go there with that. But I'm like, would that be interesting to keep people around and want to watch an Aunt Gladys movie? I just felt like she was the most interesting, unique, repulsive, weird part of the movie. And I liked her scene. She definitely stole the scene she was in. But I don't know if I want a whole movie with her. So I don't know if that's necessarily a direction it should go. I just feel like they should just leave weapons alone. Everything does not require a prequel or a sequel. And then on top of that, there was the one about Zach. Now, Zach was the kid who plays Josh Brolin's son in the movie. Zach was a bully. So, I mean, not Zach. Zach Kreger is is the director. So there was the kid that or I should say, because I didn't write his name down. So the Josh Brolin's son was bullying Alex in the movie. When you see it, the end credit, when after everything happens, I'm not going to spoil what happened, whatever, but when Josh Brolin goes, picks his son up, and he walks away, and you kind of look at the boy's face, it's kind of like, well, everybody seemed like the spell was broken, whatever. That boy looked like it was something going on up in his head that was a little, a little out there with a buzz. It was like, okay, so this kid's probably going to end up all kinds of screwed up. And then also the scene when Josh Brolin was asleep, and then I guess it was kind of giving him clues of what was going on or something or another. Because, like when you sleep sometimes you get like little premonitions or whatever the case is. And there was one scene where some people said they didn't even notice it. Nobody saw that AK-47 hovering over his house. So when it came down to that part or whatever, it's like they probably could hint at Josh Brolin's son is so broken, so screwed up, the trauma of what happened to him in that movie, that he ends up like a mass shooter or something or another. Who knows? But if they decide to, whatever they decide, I'd be definitely interested, because Zach Kreger is like one of the most interesting writers, directors out right now. He's creating a lot of really interesting content. Thank God he has not fallen down that Jordan Peele route, because remember, once upon a time when Jordan Peele was, Get Out successful, everybody was eating out the palm of his hand. Then he gave us excuse me. Then he gave us that movie with Lupita Nyong'o. What was it called? Up? No, I was gonna say Up. That's a cartoon. Then he gave us that Lupita Nyong'o movie, which was not good. And then you gave us Nope. I was like, oh, wait, it actually was called Up. What am I talking about? It was Up, and then it was Nope. I was like, these movies are okay, but Get Out still to this day resonates with me in regards to like the social commentary, a lot of the creepy scenes and all that stuff. So I love Get Out, but all his other following films, they're like, okay, I get the commentary in it. I just don't feel like he executed it as good as Get Out did, or he did with that. But I'm looking forward to seeing that movie, Him, because Him is It's produced by Jordan Peele, and it's got an interesting comment. I mean, it's got an interesting concept. Apparently, I can't talk today. It's like, yeah, it's got an interesting concept. But it's caused by like, how bad would you want fame and what would you sacrifice for it? So it's got a lot of those metaphors in there, and there's some weird stuff going on in that movie. So that to me is kind of giving me the same kind of vibe and the tone of like a weapons and things of that nature. So I'm looking forward to it. But I ask all of you, if you saw Weapons, what do you think of this story? Would you like to see a movie, a solo Aunt Gladys movie, or even though because I mentioned this on Critical Overlord, to Critical Overlord, he even responded. He was like, he actually he wouldn't mind seeing the latter part, which would be a movie surrounding Josh Brolin's son and what happened after, in the aftermath of what happened to these kids that disappeared at like 2:15 in the morning and that sort of thing. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below.